thank you for inviting me here, to give me the opportunity to express my story. But let me give you some of my background. I spent about 4 years in the military, and then I went into NSA directly. So I ended up with about 37 years of service combined. Most of it was a lot of fun, I tell you. It was really a lot of fun breaking these puzzles, solving problems and things like that. And that's really what I did. I fundamentally started working with data, looking at data and data systems and how you do that. I was developing this concept of analysis so that you could lay it out in such a way that it could be coded and executed electronically, meaning you could automate analysis. Okay. And it has to do with metadata and using metadata relationships. So that was my whole theme there, and say eventually that's what I ended up to. I was the only one there doing that, by the way. So at any rate, 9/11 happened, and it must have been right after a few days, not more than a week after 9/11, that they had decided to begin actively spying on everyone in this country. And they wanted that back part of our program to run all this spying. All right, so that's exactly what they did. And then they started taking the telecom data and then expanded after that. So, I mean, the one I knew was ATT, and that one provided 320 million records every day. That program was reauthorized every 45 days by what I call the Yes Committee, which was Hayden, Tennant, and the DOJ. The program was called Stellar Wind. So first I went to the House Intelligence Committee, and the staff member that I personally knew there, and she then went to the chairman of that committee. Nancy Pelosi was the minority rep. They were all briefed into the program at the time, by the way, and all the other programs that were going on, including all these CIA programs. I wasn't alone in this. There were 4 others out of NSA, and we were all trying to work internally in the government over these years, trying to get them to come around to being constitutionally acceptable and take it into the courts and have the courts oversight of it too. So we naively kept thinking that could happen, and it never did. But at any rate, after that and all the stuff we were doing, they decided to raid us to keep us quiet, threaten us, So we were raided simultaneously. 4 of us. In my case, they came in with guns drawn. I don't know why they did that, but they did. So.
Laura, I will answer whatever number of your questions as best I can. Forgive the lack of structure. I am not a writer, and I have to draft this in a great hurry. What you know as Stellar Wind has grown. SSO, the expanded Special Source Operations that took over Stellar Wind's share of the pie, is spread all over the world to practically include comprehensive coverage of the United States. Disturbingly, the amount of U.S. communication ingested by NSA is still increasing. Publicly, we complain that things are going dark, but in fact, our accesses are improving. The truth is that the NSA has never in its history collected more than it does now. I know the location of most domestic interception points, and that the largest telecommunication companies in the U.S. are betraying the trust of their customers, which I can prove. We are building the greatest weapon for oppression in the history of man, yet its directors exempt themselves from accountability. NSA Director Keith Alexander lied to Congress, which I can prove. Billions of U.S. communications are being intercepted. In gathering evidence of wrongdoing, I focused on the wronging of the American people, but believe me when I say that the surveillance we live under is the highest privilege compared to how we treat the rest of the world. This I can also prove. On cyber operations, the government's public position is that we still lack a policy framework. This too is a lie. There is a detailed policy framework, a kind of martial law for cyber operations created by the White House. It's called Presidential Policy Directive 20 and was finalized at the end of last year. This I can also prove. I appreciate your concern for my safety, but I already know how this will end for me, and I accept the risk. If I have luck and you are careful, You will have everything you need. I ask only that you ensure this information makes it home to the American public.
Does the NSA routinely intercept American citizens' emails? No. Does the NSA intercept Americans' cell phone conversations? No. Google searches? No. Text messages? No. Amazon.com orders? No. Bank records? No. What judicial consent is required for NSA to intercept communications and information involving American citizens?
Within the United States, that would be the FBI lead. If it was a foreign actor in the United States, the FBI would still have the lead and could work that lead with NSA or other intelligence agencies as authorized. But to conduct that kind of collection in the United States, it would have to go through a court order, and the court would have to authorize it. We're not authorized to do it, nor do we do it.
All rise. The United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit is now in session. Please be seated.
Good morning and welcome to the Ninth Circuit. The first case for argument is Jewel versus National Security Agency. You may proceed.
May it please the court, Kevin Bankston for Carolyn Jewel and her fellow plaintiff appellants in Jewel v. NSA. Your Honors, plaintiffs have specifically alleged that their own communications and communications records have been acquired by the government. But the district court found that we had failed to allege facts that differentiated the injury that our plaintiffs suffered from the injury suffered by every other AT&T user whose communications and records have been acquired by the government, basically concluding that so long as everyone is being surveilled, no one has standing to sue. However, to deny standing to persons who are injured simply because many others are also injured would mean that the most injurious and widespread government actions could be questioned by nobody.